This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone. Welcome you all on DevOps. The previous video that we spoke about, how DevOps works and what are the tools or what are the things that you'll be learning in the DevOps. Okay, uh, more understanding about how what is the advantage, how it works in the market. Okay, all these things we understood about DevOps in the previous session. Now we will get into a little more into actual DevOps, like what actually you do, what are the components, how it works in be it GitHub or a Kubernetes, okay, or anything for that matter. So how it actually works, we will try and understand today. Okay, the actual DevOps we will try and understand from today. Okay, guys, all you have to do is uh, okay, so here if you see okay, the first component in our tool chain, right, first component in our tool, which is known as version control. Basically, see here, this is the version control. Now when it comes to version control, the tool that I'm going to cover is known as a Git. Okay, it is Git. Once it is over, okay, once it is over, then we will move to the continuous integration tools. Let's understand that. And in these continuous integration tools, we will be covering two different tools again here. Okay, one is known as Jenkins, the other one is known as Bombo. Okay, these two again we are going to cover, okay, once it is over. And then we will also learning the certain build tools, like you have monitoring concept, and 10 maybe we talk about just one of the sessions we spoke about a couple of things in the last session, right? And then we will move to the environment setup, doing the environment setup primarily. Okay, we will be learning Wagner. And this is actually really important, guys. And as I already told you, that Docker and Kubernetes, majority of our course, majority of the discussions that we'll be doing in Docker and Kubernetes, structured around Docker and the Kubernetes. These two plays a major role here. Okay, now if you see, okay, now what we will do is we will learn more configuration management tool, okay, which known as the Ansible. And these are the majority of the tools that we'll be covering. Okay, I also told you, like maybe we could have some more sessions, basic, to understand the basic concept of Python, and all overview to complete the entire entire thing. Okay, so if you see the version controls, okay, in the DevOps tool chain, right, the GitHub, okay, which plays a real major role. What do we call as the git version? Basically, the version whatever using in the GitHub is really important. Why do we need to do version control? Let's try understanding here. See, let's try to understand just a scenario, a very simple scenario. Okay, generally, I mean, if you talk about general scenario, in any organization we have a team of developers, right? We have a team of developers who would be creating their code, right? Now all these developers, imagine they are working on the same application. Okay, if they're working on the same application, now when multiple developers are working on the same project, obviously the code creation by the developer should become available to the team members, entire team, right? Available for the entire team members. Then I mean, then only the deployment can be happening with the integrated way, the way they actually want. Okay, the way it actually have to be implemented. Okay, for example, I am one developer, I created a code, okay, for a login functionality. Now developer, there are two ways to continue from here. Okay, he wants to create the code for a registration functionality, right? But in order to create the code for a registration functionality, imagine he wants to access the login related code. Okay, yeah, like he want to create a code again, whatever the code I have created, right? He would want to access the code, and he want to continue from there, for example. Okay, it's a teamwork, it's a teamwork. Then multiple developers are working on that. Okay, working on the done by the same thing which is done by the developer. Okay, should be available to the other team members also, right? As DevOps engineer, I might be creating certain playbooks, right? in Ansible, obviously, right? I might be creating contain dockers file, kubernetes files, and similarly I might be creating some jetking files, jetking pipeline projects. Okay, now all these work that I'm doing, I have to integrate. I have to make available the other team members, sort of whatever I do generally, right? We upload this code and the file remote servers to the remote server. And what happens with this remote server, we generally call version control system. Okay, uh, those of you who are actually pinging, I mean, if you're checking with the team members, you can you know do this. This is the 10 members that you're writing a code, and maybe 5 among which you already have. Okay, so this is how it actually works. Okay, um, so here, if I imagine I have 15 members and the team member of 15 again. Okay, with the same team members, when you have so many members working in the team, you can actually have coordination. Okay, uh, basically what I'm trying to say is each developer are creating some code. Okay, and once the code is created, they are uploading this code into the remote server. Okay, remote server, this is what we are trying to understand here. Okay, and a version controlling system. Okay, version controlling system, like what version control system will be, we are accepting the code coming from all these people, and it will be integrated, right, with that particular code. On the similar note that I was talking about, imagine if a person created a 10 programs. Okay, this person has created 5 programs. Once it is checked in once it is checked in into a remote server, the remote server going to have single project, which will be all 15 programs. So generally this is how it works. Okay, this is how it works. For example, in the next day, when the developer downloads the code from the remote server, each developer will be able to access the entire code. Okay, this person can see not only the code, he will also see the code created by the other team members. So basically, version controlling system are accepting the code upload which are coming from the multiple team members. This is what we have to understand here. And it's integrating that code, to the other team members as well. Okay, the shared resources, you might have heard about the term called shared resources, right? Shared resources, that's nothing but the shared resources, nothing but what is the meaning of the word version controlling. Okay, version controlling, to understand here, that word, why we are using version controlling is, if it is just sharing the data, what is the point? What is the point of having the name of version control? Let's imagine if it is just sharing the data, there's no point you name it as version control. Okay, the main feature in version control systems prevents the older version and the latest version of the code. Older version and latest version. Okay, like you have to please look at, see here, whatever we are talking about. This is what the code repository basically. Okay, developers have uploaded the code into the repository. Okay, and they are calling versions 1.0, another day 2.0. Okay, like this. If they're calling 2.0, some modifications or some adding the code. Okay, like creating the third day, they are calling it as version 3.0. Okay, and like this. Like one common question you might get is that why do I actually require version control system? Okay, why do I actually require version control system? I can put a shared drivers wherever my network, and I can do all the, I can ask all the team members to access it, right? Why do I need server controls? That's possible, but I will upload code into shared drive. Okay, my team members will also take the code from the shared drive. Okay, no, that's just one the future of version controls. The main feature of version control system have the capacity, I mean the capability basically. Okay, Capability of what kind of capability? Capability of preventing the older version and the latest versions of the code. So you can see on my screen, see here, as you see, imagine that till today, like different 10 versions code upload and version controlling system. Now we are currently on the 10th day, for example. Now on 10th day we had integration with the client. Client is not happy. Sorry, interaction with client was not happy. And we have created whatever we have created with, he's not happy, for example. uh, Somewhere things went wrong. So we do check, right? We just do root cause analysis to find out where things went wrong. We have to do that. You need to do the root cause analysis, understand the issue. Okay, so like that, basically you using server controls, you preserve older version of the code and latest version of the code. We will be seeing this particularly, but I mean, definitions point of view, level to make you understand. I mean, that definitions point of view, imagine that today you create a file, okay, you add some data in file, but tomorrow you can take the file and you modify it. What will happen? What will happen once you modify it? The older data will be lost, only the latest data present after day after tomorrow. Again, you modify the same file. And this how, if you continue the process, what happens? And always the latest data will be present. I mean, latest data will be persist. Okay, like this is the understanding why we use the server controls, basically. Okay, version control. Version control systems, basically not like that. They are preventing the older version of code and also the latest version of the code. Okay, at any point of time we can jump between any version that want main functionality of version control, nothing like that. Okay, so you have to understand like this when it comes to version control. See here, this is where I have, if you imagine this scenario here, a developer has uploaded the code into a remote GitHub repository, into the remote version control system. Developer, okay, the developer, there are two developers, if I say. Okay, another developer downloading the code, and he's spoiling the code internally, for example, just internally, and then he will upload that remote repository. So one thing in version control system, like understanding who is disturbing the code, you should understand the first. That's the first thing you need to identify. And second thing, even after the fellow spoiled the code, your colleague spoils the code, there is nothing that can be done, because original version of the code is also available on the version control system. Okay, I can jump to older version, continue my, I mean, to continue my work from there. Okay, so whenever someone uses the word version controlling, please understand version controlling denotes all the things, all the three things, basically. One is it's accepting the code coming from the entire team and interacting that code to the project, I mean, to the team members, so that all the team members are able to collaborate, right? They are able to share their work between all of them. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is they preventing the old version of the latest version of the code, so that at any point of time the team members can jump between whichever the version they want. Within the 10 days you have deployed the code, now they realize that they want to work, I mean, they went in a wrong track. Okay, they want to jump back 3 days or 4 days. It's possible. Okay, with in this kind of scenario, it's possible. Okay, if you are in case if you are using version control, and the last thing that version control system does it, keeping the track of who's making the what kind of changes. Now this generally identify version controlling. A version controlling server generally does that. Okay, remember the important thing that you people need to keep in mind, two things here. Okay, version controlling which are available in the market, One is called centralized version controlling. Okay, remember that. The other thing, the other one is known distributed version controlling, centralized version. Okay, controlling is it's something that you people have to already seen in this diagram. I simply told you that developers or team members, they creating some code, respective machines, they are uploading the code into a remote server. Okay, this remote servers is doing version controlling. When I use the word version controlling, please keep in mind these three factors. Okay, you have to keep this in your mind. Now guys, uh, interacting the code created by all the team members, and what else, preserving the older version of the code and also the latest version of the code. Okay, and keeping track of who's making what kind of changes. So the stuff, what is the stuff happening with the remote server, and kind of version control, you need to know it, generally centralized version control. Okay, the common example of centralized version controlling which I was talking about. Now see here. Okay, okay, like some of the different members, sitting in different machines, for example, they are creating some code. So creating some code, he's also creating some the code. Now internally that code will be uploaded by these team members into, we can call it as a local repository, right? This local repository will be present on each and every team member's machine. There will be something called as local repository. Okay, you need to have this as a local repository. Now into, for example, see here, let me draw this. Into each team member upload their code, and this is a local repository. Version controlling happens only in the level of individual developer, right? Later, from here, it will be uploaded into a remote server, and here version controlling happens at the level of the entire, and it happens for the entire team. This process is called distributed version controlling. So as a simple example, imagine, for I am a developer here, or whoever. Okay, we are developing the code here. Let me write this for you so that you understand it better. I go to my organization today morning. Okay, create some code. I create some configuration files, whatever, and before going to lunch, I upload that code into my local repository. After coming back from lunch, again, I take same code which is present in my local repository, and I create some more files. Okay, I modify the code, whatever, and then I upload it again into the local repository, which means in my local repository, how many versions are there now? Two versions are there, right? Before going to lunch and after coming back from lunch, two different versions we have uploaded. Now these two versions are available only by me, because created by me, right? Other team members don't know what is happening, but later, once I feel that the code is okay, I want to expose it to the team members. I'll upload into a remote server, where the remote server will do version controlling at the level of entire project, for the entire team, basically at the level of entire project, right? Will be version controlling. Different apps, same happens with the banking app also. There you go. Okay, this is how basically we work, within repository, within the team with a repository, guys. Basically, when you're actually taking about any software application development, right, all you need to know that the software application development can contain functionalities. Imagine your organization is working on a bank application. They are creating a software for a bank application. Now, don't you think the bank application will have functionalities? Yes, obviously they have. Okay, functionality called loans, and functionality called personal banking, another functionality called credit cards, right? These things. These are different functionalities basically. Okay. And imagine that there are different teams developers who are working on functionalities. So the bare repository concepts actually help you to, something like this, like what I can do now is imagine uh, developer who's working on the loans functionality. This is another developer who's working on the loans functionality. What they do different, developers working on different functionalities based on the requirement. They will create some code and then they put the code into their local repository. This local repository will be present on every individual team member's machine, right? So this similarly we have another set of two more developers who are working on the personal banking functionality. So they are creating some code which is putting into their local repository. Okay, some more code they are putting into the local repository. You have to understand that. Now repository, basically what is repository? Here in repository, see what is happening is, now at the end of the day, right, whatever you do this process, at the end of the day, two people want to share the work between themselves. So this is a remote repository which is designed only to the loans. Okay, this is a remote repository which is designed to personal banking. So now, like for example, the version controlling is happening only for one developer in this case. At the version control happening only for the one, developer. So this is how it actually works, guys. Okay, so now like this, okay, why we are talking about more on version controlling is, this is really important to understand. How do you manage version controlling? What kind of repositories that you'll be creating? What happens when you create multiple codes? What is a local server? Okay, local repository, these things. Now let's say in the version controlling, okay, maintaining version controlling for individual developers, you are maintaining version controlling for a sub team members. Like we are able to maintain multiple versions for the entire application. This is implemented in distributed version controlling. And of course that we are going to see via this tool known as GitHub. We will understand that as well. All the members upload their code into a remote server. Okay, let's understand this here. We call it as a code repository or a version controlling. Let's understand this more and then we move forward accordingly. This will help you to have the notes also. This version control system accepts the code, uploads multiple team members, and it interacts the code into a single project. For example, next time when the team members download the code, right, they will be able to access or not. You can check that. Okay, whatever we discussed, we're just trying to understand here with the notes. Will be able to access or not only their code, but also code created by the entire team. And version controls preserve older and later versions of the code so that the team members can trigger it. This is team members can toggle between whatever version they want. Using version controls, we can keep track of who's making what kind of changes. You can do this as well, keeping the track. Okay. We also a little bit of a little bit of notes part of, because whatever I've we are talking, right, it will help you if you write notes. Nothing to worry. GitHub is basically remote repository, guys. Okay, version control classifies into two types basically. See here, centralized version controlling, distributed version controlling. Okay, now if we understand about centralized version controlling, what happens here is, here basically we have a remote server. Okay, where basically version controlling is done here for all the team members. All the team members simply upload their code. Okay, this is what centralized version control. Now, with the centralized version control, if you see here, two team members are developing the code basically here. Okay, like these two members are developing the code here. Generally, what happens? Individual developer, you are maintaining the version controls for a sub team members. Okay, we are able to maintain multiple versions for the entire application. See here. Okay, so these things for the entire application, like this can be implemented in distributed version controlling. See here, distributed version controlling. The second thing here, after centralized, we can talk about distributed version controlling. Basically, Git also be used here in distributed version. Distributed version controlling is used to centralized version controlling. Okay, here we have a local repository on every team. Okay, for the team members later. This can be checked into the remote server where the version controls happens, like this. Okay, this is how it is. Now this is interacting the code created by the team members, and what else? Preventing the older version of the code and also the latest versions of the code, and keeping the track. See here, older version of the code, latest version of the code, what's happening, only the remote server, and this kind of version controlling is generally known as a centralized, known as a distributed version controlling. GitHub here. I was talking about something about GitHub also, which we will be learning. Now this is to understand distributed version controlling. Okay, there you go. This is how you understand. These are there are many different team members, for example, who are sitting in their machines, right, and they are creating some code. So creating some code is also creating, for example, initially the code will be uploaded by the same team members, and then you will have to uh, when they upload initially, they generally, what you call, it is called as a they do it in the local repository only, right? This local repository will be present on each and every team members machines. There will be something called as a local repository. Okay, so that's how it is. I'm giving a notes for you so that you understand it better. You can write down this also. Now see here, what you can also do is, for a GitHub, we know, right? Go to GitHub. We'll see this now. So you can download the Git. Okay, this is how you just have to go download. It will be there in your local machine. Since I already have, I am not downloading it. GitHub. The terminal, basically, we call this as terminal. When you have it, no basic. See, use of GitHub, Git Bash. You can also call it as a Git Bash, right? Basically, you can perform operations from the backend using this. Whatever you have, whatever the activities that you're performing, right, you can do it from the backend. When you download, it will be there in your local machine. Okay, it will be there in your local machine, and then you can open and connect to the server. See, there you go. This is how you open. Just click here. Now this is where you start working on. You can change the background color actually. Okay, generally it is in the black whenever you install it for the first time. I've changed it. There are some commands which we all know how to write these commands and all that, because okay, so there is a different what do you call, Linux commands, set of Linux commands that you'll have to learn, right? So to understand Git Bash more, right, but command prompt of Git, you have to open it. When you are executing these commands on Windows, all the Git commands have to be executed in the Git Bash. Remember that it should be done in the Git Bash. Okay, and like we know the Windows machine, we have command prompt. Okay, commands can be executed on the Mac machine or a Linux machine. We have a terminal where these Linux related commands can be executed. Similarly, for the executing Git commands, we need to have this application called Git Bash. Okay, once it is installed, you need to have this. So once you have, you can start executing whatever the commands you want basically. Okay, I mean, we need to learn Git commands day by day. Okay, slowly you should learn every command basically. We go to the as the sessions progress basically. Okay, but this is the first thing in Git installed. Okay, you once you install, we'll talk about more commands in installing Git, Linux machines also, but we'll not show how to create these Linux machines today. Not in this video, probably in another video we'll talk about it. We will be creating these Linux machines via a tool called Vagrant. Okay, which I already mentioned in our the previous session when I was talking about the previous thing, right? Previously, I already discussed about this Git configuration files. Okay, this is a Git config. We can write name here. I just took a random name. You can also take this. You can add here. I'm taking the standard details, whichever I have. You can give, based on your details, email address, your username, whatever. If you have standard, that is fine. The first thing you have to do, once Git install, configure your username and the email, which is mandatory. If you want to proceed with further operations, uploading to the local repository or repository, first activity supposed to be done is setting up your username and the email ID. You should do that. Okay, and whatever the name you give, it reflects here. I've just selected a random name which I have already. You can just go with your name. Okay, with the global repository here, whatever the name you give will be reflecting anything. Anything, I mean, actually, it picks up the data. Remember, like I had already discussed a few minutes back, version controlling system keeps a track. Okay, who's making what kind of challenges and all that, right? That tracking actually happens via these credentials. Okay, once these credentials are set, you want to see, what kind of list configuration, global configurations, and then you can give command like this, git config. Okay, like that you can give it. Installing Git Windows, these are the steps that you can follow. Installing Git on Windows, I'm just giving you the step by step so that you understand, because going forward we work more on Git. Okay, so that is the reason. Once Git is installed, install Git on Ubuntu. Okay, command prompt Git, where we can execute. There are some Git commands, guys, which you will be understanding. You need to open the terminal, installation process, update the apt repository, sudo apt-get update. You should do this as well. These are the steps installing GitHub on your Ubuntu server, on Ubuntu. You can open terminal on Ubuntu machine, and first thing you do, upgrade apt repository. Okay, for that command you generally give just these commands. Don't worry, you will understand the commands slowly. Installing RHEL, these versions, open terminal into a Linux server. Open terminal into a Linux server. My GitHub. These are the steps. Install Git, install by GitHub. Okay, basically, when you say installing Git sudo su apt, right? Now imagine you are using Red Hat, Linux, Red Hat, or Enterprise Linux, or CentOS, or Fedora. Any of these versions, Linux or Linux will be using. Then the process again the same thing when you open the terminal. Okay, on the Linux machines, setting up the username, email globally for all the users. This is something really important. You have to understand how to do that. Setting up username and email globally for all users on a specific machine. Let's see this now. How do you do that? You need to write the command git config for the global user. You can give any name here. I'm just selecting this name randomly. Okay, because this is your username and the email address. Okay, username and email address that you have to create for yourself. Give the same one. Since I have this already, I'm using it. At the moment, I don't want to change. It's up to you actually. To see the list of configurations on Git, what we do is configure global list. Okay. Now what I'll do is, okay, these commands, whatever we will be learning from here, right? Whatever I'm talking about in the Git, right? In Git, these commands are case sensitive. Okay, please copy like that as it is, whatever you have. Okay, and git config like global user. Okay, dot username also you need to have. Simply give whatever the name. Similarly, I have selected the previous name and you can give whatever you want here. Okay, so it should be clear, right? So what we can do to take how do you take it forward is like finding, in case if you find any difficulty while writing commands, you can actually I mean, git bash basically you will learn as the as the with the more practice, guys. Okay, slowly you will learn, don't worry about it. We'll definitely work on uh, how to create this thing, how to create the apps, how to work on it, and how to write make the job easy, working on git bash and CLI tools also. Okay, so okay, so this is how we do it, and this is what the git and of course commands are going to be different. So once you do that, we will understand it more. All right. Okay, so I think that's all I have for today, and we will try and continue and we'll try and understand more in the next video, guys. Okay, thank you.